there, everyone, and welcome to the Gluten-Free Italian holiday baking episode. So this is actually the first time that I am doing a live on Instagram, and I'm so excited to actually be introducing myself in Instagram and showing you how to cook gluten-free. Not just Italian food, but a lot of other food. So by the end of this little episode, we will have made these Toffee Thumbprint chocolate-filled cookies. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started officially now. And we're going to start by preheating our oven to 325 degrees. So it's set right now at 350, lowering it to 325, and let's get that started. So as we get that started, we're going to go ahead and go over our ingredients. So everything that I do on these lives is about being gluten-free because I'm gluten intolerant and I am Italian. And I grew up on pasta and all of that good stuff and Italian bread and oh my goodness. So I have had to obviously adjust the way I eat. And in doing so, what I've realized is that I can still have the things that I love that I grew up with. I just have to make them gluten-free. So I decided to start doing that this past year, and I started this gluten-free Italian series so that I could show others how to go ahead and make those wonderful, amazing dishes, whether it's fried eggplant, whether it's lasagna, whether it is gnocchi, all of it can be gluten-free. And so that's what I'm working on because you can eat gluten-free and really enjoy it. So, hey, Nance. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and start our ingredients. Now, when it comes to baking, I usually always incorporate tapioca flour and coconut flour, almond flour if I have it, but I don't have it today, and sweet rice flour. And I like the sweet rice flour, but it has a very grainy texture. So what I've learned over the past 5 or 6 years that I've been gluten-free is that I have to be careful with rice flour because rice flour doesn't adhere, doesn't have the adhesive properties because it's a grainy flour. So you can't really bake the same way with rice flour that you bake with regular flour. And I don't like all-purpose gluten-free flour because it has some flours that aren't the greatest tasting to me, like garbanzo bean flour, which I think has a specific place in different types of recipes, but for me, it's not baking. So I decided to go ahead and start doing my own blend of flours. So that's what I'm doing today. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, 2 sticks of butter, softened, and these are softened a little bit. We might have to soften them a little more. 1/2 cup of confectionery sugar, but we're going to add a little more to make it a little sweeter. And also Heath chips or toffee chips of whatever type you have. Chopped pecans, a little bit of vanilla, and then we're good to go. And that's the recipe. It's that simple. And then for our chocolate ganache that we put in the middle of the thumbprint, that's a very simple recipe to make. I never realized how easy it is to make that. So with that said, let's get started. I hope everybody's having a really good weekend. So my tapioca flour, I am using 1 cup of tapioca flour. And like I said, I like the tapioca flour because tapioca is a very fine flour. It's gluten-free. It's a very fine flour, so it gives you the texture of all-purpose regular flour that we use. And we need that texture because if it's too grainy, what's going to happen is the cookies will fall apart, and we don't want that to happen because these are basically like a shortbread cookie, and so it has a drier texture anyway. All right, put that one in. Now for the other 2, what we're going to do is we're going to use 1/2 cup of coconut flour and 1/2 cup of the rice flour. And yes, I already tested this recipe out to make sure. A little too much. You want a level 1/2 cup, not overflowing. And that was my coconut flour, and now we're going to add our rice flour. And then I have this really cool thing I have to show you that I learned from a colleague of mine, a social retailer that I sell with. I have to show you this trick. It's so cool. This is our half cup of rice flour. So those are going to go in. Oh, I need to get my mixer spoons. Quick mixer. And I always like to blend the flour a little bit before I start adding the other ingredients. If I can get my, there we go. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to soften the butter just a little more because it doesn't seem to be as soft as I would like it to. And I have a feeling that the Facebook Live is not going through right. And sorry about that, everybody on Facebook. I will upload the video once it's finished, but for me to try and get in there right now would be almost impossible and kind of get everything sidetracked. All right. All right, so this is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 sticks of butter now into my mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and blend that. Now, this is really an easy recipe when you look at it from the standpoint of how easy it all comes together. And there's not a lot of ingredients or hard work involved. But there's just the steps, as always. All right, so I added the butter. Now, before all of this starts meshing together, I'm going to go ahead and add a confectionery sugar. It calls for 1/2 cup of confectionery sugar. But we are going to add a little more than 1/2 cup. Sorry, that was my oven telling me that it's ready. Okay. So we're adding 3/4 cup of confectionery sugar because the batch I already made, because of course I already made one batch, right? But not quite as sweet. And I'm not big on eating sweets as far as them being really sweet and sugary, but these needed a little more. Okay. Now, the other step that we're going to do is we're going to add 2 teaspoons of, I've got my teaspoon here somewhere, of vanilla. 1, 2. Mix this. Sorry, everybody on Facebook. The little glitches that happen. Okay, there we go. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is I have in here 1/2 cup of pecans chopped and 1/2 cup of the Toffee Bits. We're going to add this in. So I'm adding 1 full cup of those 2 combined. And I'm going to mix this in before I go ahead and add a little more coffee. Just because. I love the way the Toffee Bits blend into this. Now, I just added 1/4 cup more of Toffee Bits. Really good though. Gotta jazz it up a little more. Okay, this is good. I'm gonna let this go now. Let everything fall off of the ta-da! Okay, I'm done with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our mixture and we are going to just blend everything from the sides to make sure. This is so fast. Wait until you see how fast this goes. Now, I do like to put the mixture in the dough in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. I just like it to go ahead and get a little consistency in it, because otherwise what happens is it's just a little unmanageable because you have to roll everything into balls. So you'll see in just a minute. And of course, I already have one made, right? So I'm just gonna switch that one for this one. And we're back that fast. It's like magic. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this mixture, which is cold actually, and we're going to roll this into little balls. And then from there, we're going to just push down for a little thumbprint. You can use a little ladle if you want to. Pop them in the oven. Then they'll take about 15, 16 minutes, depending on your oven. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do a little experiment. And after that, we're going to make our little chocolate ganache, which is really quick and easy to make. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get this prepared. Because even though this is non-stick, because it has the toffee in it, I'm going to take some Crisco and we're going to, just with a little tiny bit, we're going to spread the Crisco, just this much, like a half a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon, no, more like a half a teaspoon, on the baking sheet. La, 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 la. I went to a barn party last night. It was so much fun. My girlfriend, Cynthia Barn, had it. She lives in Brooksville. She has this gorgeous pole barn. It's just absolutely beautiful. And she actually hosts weddings and other events there, so you can rent it from her, which is great. Anyway, we were dressed up. All the girls were dressed up with our boots on. It was so much fun. Okay, so here we have our mixture. Not real big balls. Here we go. We're going to put that one on. Just keep doing it until this is filled. I usually put 5 across. And then I usually have like 3 rows. So 5 across and 3 rows, although I don't know we have enough mixture for this. So, because I made some earlier, of course. They tasted really good. And my son is here, so maybe I can talk him out of the bedroom. So he can taste them. So you can see it's not just me saying they're good for a change. So anyway, went to this party. We had so much fun. It was just so great to get out and was in the open, and it was just wonderful to be able to socialize like that again. And I love Brooksville. Brooksville is probably one of my favorite places in Florida. It is so beautiful. If you have not been to Brooksville, although I hate to give away the secret, it is a gorgeous place if you like being in the country. They have an adorable little downtown area. They have this place called the Florida Cracker that's a little restaurant bar and novelty shop, and it's just really, really cool place. And Brooksville has a lot of hills, which is nice. You know, we don't usually get that everywhere. So that's really nice as well. So then I came home last night, a little late, but it was nice. Okay, one more, maybe 1.5 more. I can't wait to show you this trick. This is just so cool. I couldn't believe when I did it. It's so funny. Wait until you see this. Okay, so we're just gonna push down, little thumbprint, which is actually my little index finger. Of course, I washed my hands. I'm constantly washing my hands, especially when I cook. Okay, so squishing these down. I just realized the bowl's in the way, so you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so squish down, into the oven they go. While that is cooking, all right, so I have to show you this experiment. It is so cool. I have 2 glasses of water before me. Do you see? So 2 glasses. This is just a cool trick. Now, we're gonna put some bread in both of them. Bread in one, bread in the other. Now, what we're going to do, we're gonna push that down into the water, right? And eventually over time, it's in water. It's gonna, it goes into our stomach. It's going to eventually digest, right? Here's the trick. Carb blocker. You're not gonna believe this. Wait until you see this. This just blew my mind when I did it. Okay, so it's in here. I'll squish that down a little more. Now, watch what it does. If I can open it. My hands are greasy. La, 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 la. There we go. Watch this. I'm putting the capsule of carb blocker in here. Watch what this does. It's unbelievable. It literally just disintegrates the bread in here. You gotta give it a minute, but oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's literally disintegrating the bread. Now, obviously, we are eating a lot of carbs right now with all the baking that we're doing because it's gluten-free, I mean, I just can't believe that. It is disintegrating this bread like nobody's business. That's what the carb blocker does, because with carbs, it takes what's going to be sitting there, right, and it breaks it down. That's the whole idea. And it focuses on the carbs. Now, if we were to do this with the digestive enzyme, that would be even better, because that would really probably break it down even more. But if you're planning on eating a lot of carbs at any given time, then what you can do is you can go ahead and take the carb blocker before you do so or right after doing so, and it will help break down those carbs. So, nifty little trick, wanted to show you all. All right, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and we are now going to go ahead and get our chocolate ganache together. Now, when I do this, I like to either use semi-sweet morsels or I use a blend of milk chocolate and like bittersweet morsels. So I've got some bittersweet morsels here. It doesn't take a lot. So we could do a half a cup of each. And then once we do that, we get it into the pan. We get it into the pan with, and I'm going to actually add a couple of dark chocolate morsels too, just to make it a little more interesting. So 1 cup going into here, our little pan. And from here, what we're also going to do is we need to take our Crisco and we need to add a tablespoon of Crisco, or 2 teaspoons, because 2 teaspoons make a tablespoon. So we're going to take 2 teaspoons. We're going to put it in here. And then we're just going to put it on the heat. And in less than 2 minutes, it will actually be done, believe it or not. All right, let's get it moving. So that's on there. Got my whisk. I'm gonna wash my hands really quick. So I have found as I'm getting older, things don't always digest like I want them to. And with the holidays among us and all of the foods that we're eating that we normally don't eat, I'm finding myself having to make sure that I take a digestive enzyme, that I take the carb blocker if I'm going to be eating carbs. Because remember, as I was saying, just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's carb-free. Wouldn't that be nice? But gluten is basically, you can have anything with corn in it, anything with rice in it, anything that doesn't have gluten in the natural derivative of whatever it is fine. It's fine. So there are some oats that don't have gluten in it that you can eat. Some steel oats you can eat, and you can use those in mixtures as well, whether you're making muffins or whatever. But you just have to be careful what it is. Okay, so we're going to start mixing this together. And you see already it's starting to loosen up. That's how fast this comes together right here. And everything's stuck. was that, 2 minutes? If that? And it's ready. It's ready. So that's how fast. 2 minutes. Look at that. All ready to go into our thumbprint. So now I'm going to show you. How we do this. Very quickly, very easily. And how many minutes is this? Let me see what time it is. Oh my gosh. We're 23 minutes into this and we already have everything ready now. So your timing is what's taking a while. It's going to take anywhere from 15 minutes to possibly even 20 minutes, depending on how done you want your cookies. Now, I left one batch in longer than I would like to, so these are a golden brown, and what I'd like for them to be actually is have a little golden brown on the bottom, which you're going to see the finished product, and then have a nice, light, airy, white, off-white look to it. So this is what I'm doing. So I just went ahead and I poured teaspoon, if that, into the cookie middle. So here we go. Just a little bit will do you. And that's it. So you do that with all of the cookies. Then you put them in the refrigerator because we want the chocolate to firm up. And once it firms up, Gabriel, do you want to try a cookie? Do you want to try a cookie? Sure. Come on out. This is what they look like. So, bon appetit. Try
really
one.
Good. Really good.
Really good?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So we'll be making more of these. Is there really a cookie that's not good? Honestly. I'll be making more of these, and these will be going out to everybody. So, bon appetit. 23 minutes, and we are done that fast. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Go bake some cookies. Ciao.